that speak to the need for folks to have more education, more information about opportunities for ownership, because that's how we've built our communities. We've built our neighborhoods on perennial and ownership on a broader scale. We have to have more conversations about what ownership is in this economy, and why people are feeling a little bit hopeless. And so today, we wanted to make sure that with the conscious check, that we kind of dived into real estate. We're coming off of a month of April, which is National Fair Housing Month. And fair housing has taken on a whole new tenor, I think, in this market, because people feel as if the market just ain't fair. They feel like, oh, why are these prices? This is Leon County. Why is it so high? Why is rent so high? Why? And so we want to kind of take today to give an opportunity to talk with some real estate professionals, some home ownership counseling professionals, renovation loan. We're going to talk a great deal about that because I have a real affinity for renovation. But Carlos, my husband, who is my special guest co-host, yes, he is a pastor of a church. So, I try to keep a pastor here to keep me, from going off the deep end with my conversation. So he is here with me today. Carlos, say hello to the people. He's still trying to set up microphones and technology. Hey, how you doing? Say hey to the people.
Good afternoon.
And if y'all don't know, my husband was my first broker. He was the first real estate company. No. Wait a minute. We worked for Keller Williams for like 2 minutes, and then we opened up our brokerage. And my husband was my first broker. And so we got into the business at a time when it was really, really hot. We were coming off of 9/11. The economy, the government, everybody was throwing in to try to create this thing called recovery in the real estate market. And we were right there with it. Here in Leon County, you saw uptick and upgrowth of a lot of different communities, the whole of Midway. We watched and had a front row seat of the outgrowth of Midway. We were at the beginning of when they had Hilltop. What was the name of those communities? Hilltop, and it wasn't Rustling Pines yet. It was a couple of other communities over there, right?
Yeah, Hilltop, Rustling Pines.
Yeah, so it's interesting how we've been able to see kind of the market change over 21 years of being in real estate and having a front seat to that. But as we've been in the market, as we've been a part of the real estate story here in Leon County, it's interesting how now we're talking about what we were talking about before was accessibility. Now we're talking about complete capability and affordability. And so it's really interesting to be sitting here 21 years in the game and be able to see kind of what has happened in the market. You can see a great uptick of other people coming in the market. And now, as a profession, real estate is changing. So it's interesting to watch all these, but this is all a part of being seasoned in the industry. And so I really look forward to today's conversation. We are now looking at some issues on the local front. I don't know if y'all have heard yet that our city has passed a accessory dwelling unit ordinance. And basically what that does is that gives people who own houses an opportunity to build additional houses on their lot. Now, listen, don't take this and run and say, oh, they said I could build another house on your lot. You got to have setback requirements. There's some other things that's got to be understood. But this is one of the many public policy approaches to trying to create affordable and accessible housing, because y'all, we are in a scarcity. It is, oh my goodness, it is, and I know if you're out there in the listening audience and you can comment and you can throw up your questions as we're talking about this, it is a real scarcity out there, and it's heartbreaking when we have calls coming to our office where people can't find somewhere to rent that's affordable for them. When a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom property is $850 a month. For a single parent or for a parent with children who are trying to find somewhere safe and decent to live, it's a real problem. I had an opportunity to talk to a whole group of real estate professionals. Shout out to the Tallahassee Chamber of Commerce. They had their Access and Future 5 conference last week and had an opportunity to speak to a room full of young professionals. And man, it was so heavy in that room because the young folks don't know where they're going to live. And some of them, they may want to stay in Tallahassee. They may want to make Tallahassee their home, but they don't know where to start. They don't know where they can find opportunities for home ownership. The prices are high. They're in entry-level positions. It's a lot going on. So what we're going to do today is just kind of have some conversation about how we have appropriated resources. There's resources for first-time home buyers. There's resources for people who are below a certain area median income. There's resources for first-time and first-generational home buyers. And the state of Florida, with its Live Local Act, has made a sweeping legislation that actually benefits people, not just at 80% of the area's median income, but also up to 120%. We're not going to get into Live Local today. We're just going to touch on it as it relates to creating hope in you that there is housing opportunity available. You just have to get the right team working with you, and you have to be funneled into the right resources so you'll understand what is out there for our local picture. So we're going to take a little break. My special co-host is still working on the tech, but we are so grateful. We are here streaming. If you're on live, please post your questions. It's gonna be a lot of conversation. It may go pretty quickly. I'm gonna try to slow it down as much as we possibly can, but we'll be bringing on our guests here shortly. I'm gonna take a quick station break, and then we'll be coming back with our guests for today's show. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Tag, post, share, and we look forward to having a good conversation about housing opportunity here in Leon County.
That's great.
You
were made for this.
Hey, if you are tuning into the stream, hey, how y'all doing? First of all, good afternoon. I'm going to be switching up here. I'm going to pull this camera out so that y'all can at least see the folks that are in the room. Thank you. That's a bad 9 viewers on this screen right here. Y'all bad, boy. How y'all doing today? We're going to pull this over here right quick and set it up.
Can you stream from my page?
I think so. Let me try to do that.
Because mine set up my page.
So we're trying to get our technological life together around here. Let me pull this in right here. So we want to make sure people can see y'all when we go into the main conversation. Isn't that nifty? Okay, let's pull this out. Let me just pull that out all together. There we go. See? We hear y'all. Hey! Y'all see everybody? Hey! All right, Ron, do I see you? Okay, let's get you in. Get you in. All right, there we go.
So can you
I can.
through my page?
I can. Let me
So I'm gonna hit mine just.
Okay. All right. Let's do it. All right. Yeah, we got y'all in. All right. If y'all see all these lovely people, these are the folks we're going to be introducing to y'all here shortly. Listen, if you have questions, if you have concerns, if you need an explanation of an acronym, because we probably will be getting into some acronyms, please say, what's that? All right. And we are really here to answer your questions today. So please make sure that you tag and share and make sure that you ask us your questions. Okay. All right, welcome back to the show. If you are listening, this is Christy Henry with the Conscious Check with Christy Henry on the Greg James Community Platform. We are here in the studio at 95.3 FM, Hallelujah, the highest praise. And we're so glad to have you to join us today. If you're just tuning in, today's conversation is about home buying 101, home ownership 101. And that doesn't exclude, and a lot of people say home ownership, they think that it's just about buyers, right? It's not. It takes a seller to have a buyer, right? And so there are two sides of this transaction that we have to be knowledgeable of. But the great thing is I think we got enough knowledge in this room to be able to kind of enough sellers in this room, enough people that have relationships with the process in this room to make this conversation a little bit easier for our audience. Hey, y'all, go ahead and tag and share. Hey, thank y'all. Go ahead and put your questions out there. Okay, if you are listening live, we are also streaming live on the Facebook page for Hallelujah 95.3 FM. Please make sure that you go online and get access to that stream and ask us your questions online. I promise you, if we don't answer them while we're on the air, we will get to them after we get off the air. Okay, this is that important. So I have here some folks that I truly, truly, truly admire. Some of them go way back, like adolescents. Some of them go way back to adolescents. Not mine, theirs. Okay, and so I am so pleased to have here, first of all, Miss Karen Miller, who is our perennial housing champion, housing advocacy seat at the Tallahassee Lenders Consortium, which is a NeighborWorks organization, which is a national intermediary for HUD. Welcome, Miss Karen.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity, and I love listening to you because you're putting it out there about housing.
Yes,
that's important.
We got to. Important. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. But y'all don't see her with this dress on, child. She is doing it with this silk in the springtime. I love it. All right, we have here Mr. Ron Byram. Ron Byram is one of, when I first met him, I just was overwhelmed with how just knowledgeable that he was of all of the different tools and resources available for regular folks to obtain housing. We did a couple of projects together. We did this big thing called Renovation is the New Affordable, way back when the houses were jacked up and we're trying to get people to buy jacked up houses. And we still need to keep people buying jacked up houses, right? And getting loans to renovate and make them new. We are so glad to have you here today, a huge advocate on the state level to make sure that the lending resources through state, through SHIP are made available, quite frankly, to buyers and sellers in this market. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And you and I go back a ways. And when I first got into renovation lending, I've been a lender since 2003, but when I got into renovation at Wells Fargo back in 2010, you guys came alongside me and really helped me try to push and get that out into the sphere where it could be used. And I've always appreciated and felt a kindred soul. And it's a pleasure to be here today. I currently run the state of Florida, Georgia, and the Carolinas for renovation lending for Loan Depot. And I'm definitely passionate about home ownership and using the tools, including renovation lending.
That's right. That's right. And you're going to want to stick a pin in that, because I think that that's how we create accessible and affordable housing, by taking housing that needs that type of resource to be able to make it new and to make it habitable for new ownership. So definitely, y'all better stay tuned. And the last but definitely not least, and I take personal privilege with this one, because she actually used to be she actually was a mentee of mine through the Smith Williams Service Center, my girls mentoring program. And now she is the fully realized broker and owner of Resilience Realty. Don't y'all love that? Resilience Realty. Let that name just give you hope. How you doing, Lynn?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for having me here today. It's a pleasure to be amongst you all. I go back a ways with all of you guys, really. Of course, with the mentoring with you, first time home buyers program at TLC that I utilized myself. And of course, I work a lot of deals with Ron, a lot of transactions. We work those out, and with the renovation loans and everything. But yes, I am the broker and owner of Resilience Realty. I take pride in working with first time home buyers. Love them. Love to get out into the community with those people and teach them about home buying and let them know that it's possible, because I feel like that is a big thing in the community in which I was raised. I am a Tallahassee native.
Yes, you are.
I went to school here, elementary, middle, high school, college, all that good stuff. But a lot of times in our community, people don't think it's possible, and I like to show people that it is indeed possible. You know, it's a process, but everything is a process. So
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And I think it's really important. And Carlos, you and I both know that real estate has gone through some cycles, gone through some changes. And we go through cycles and go through changes with real estate, right? So Carlos began as a broker, and now he is a contractor. Just showing you how real estate takes you through changes and transitions. You almost adapt to the market and the market space and what's needed. And so I kind of want to, sit down. Like I said, I had a great opportunity to sit down with some young professionals a couple of days ago. And, the idea, it seemed like there was a lot of hopelessness. And let me phrase this. you talked about student loans and you talked about going to school. You didn't talk about student loans, you talked about going to school here. Going to school here usually requires student loans, right? And a lot of those young professionals, they were like, we got these student loans, we got entry-level employment. Some of our work ain't the same for 2 years. You know, we just got all kind of issues, right? And so a lot of that, you know, has to start with counseling and end up with lending, and then, you know, end up with a realtor finding somewhere to go. But it's a process, right? Ms. Karen, can you speak kind of to that? And that's not just young professionals, that's a lot of people.
It is. And what's really great is that we have been targeting, especially for the last couple of years, our young professionals. However, everyone must know that there are seniors in this community also that have never owned a home and can tell some shocking housing stories.
Wow.
And
Wow.
so we've been able to get homes also for our seniors.
Wow.
So right now we got somebody in the pipeline that's 68 years old, will be a first-time home buyer. And so that's exciting to me. So when we want everybody to come to TLC, and the reason is that very first workshop, it's all about housing opportunities in the Big Bend area.
Yes.
Not just in Tallahassee,
That's right.
but what all of the opportunities are. And we do that because we think there's something out there for everybody.
Mhm.
Along with that, we talk about all of the down payment assistance programs, not just the city and the county. We go with it at Escambia. We talk about Florida Housing Finance Corporation. Anything that's going to assist someone, especially with down payment and closing costs. And then we talk about the services we provide at TLC.
Mhm.
Along with that workshop, there is that one-on-one counseling where we sit down with an individual. We go over their credit reports, their income. We talk about what their affordability is. We say, bring that information to us, those bank statements, those pay stubs.
Yes.
Expenses. We want to talk about what you have, what you need to do.
Mhm.
Are you okay? Are you ready to go out and seek that financing?
Mhm.
And then we provide folks for you. We provide a list of lenders, a list of realtors, home inspectors, everyone that's a part of the process. And then I call it the Big 8. That's that 8-hour certification homebuyer education class that takes you through the entire process of buying a home. It's one thing to know you got to do these things, but when someone has familiarized you already
Right.
with what that process might look like, there's a comfort level.
Yes.
All the way to that realtor that's going to assist you. What the lender is going to want from you, what information. But knowing that when you have all of these people involved in your lives, that you're still really large and in charge. You're the boss
Mhm.
in this process. And that's the part that we want everybody to understand. We're here to assist you. We're here to give you tools, but you're still in charge.
That's right. That's right. And I think that coaching, that financial coaching, that initial kind of letdown, right? Because you go there and you see all your stuff. And you know what that means when you see all this. A lot of people, they'll go to Ron and see all their stuff. They'll be like, the lender done rejected me. And now I got a complex about going to see a lender. But when you go to TLC and you let them show you your stuff, then it's like, oh, okay, they here to help me. I'm at triage, right? And so by the time I get from triage and I'm ready to go home, right? Or I'm ready to go to the next step, which is usually the step to the lender, right?
Exactly.
And so, Ron, talk a little bit about that because it's really important, especially for entry-level buyers, people who aren't sophisticated, who didn't have mama that showed or daddy that showed them how to do this. It's really important for them to take that step here with the personal financial preparedness and then go to you, right?
Agreed. And I mean, some of the stuff we're talking about, boy, there needs to be better education in our high schools and stuff, teaching people some literacy before they ever get out there and how this stuff works and the ramifications of choices they're making as they're coming out of high school. And they need to start with somebody, whether it is TLC, which is, I'm the biggest fan of TLC, or whether they do come straight to the lender, a lot of times they wait to come see either of us
Right.
until they're ready to buy a house. You really need to look at that ahead of time, because sometimes people will come, they're ready to buy a house, and 2 months before they just bought a car. And they like cut their legs out from under themselves. If they had come to see me 12 months earlier, we could have talked about those things. Let's prepare you for 6 months down the road, 12 months down the road. Don't feel like you're trying to figure it all out and wait till the very end to go see somebody, and then it's so scary. Think of them as a planner who's helping you lay out the next 6 months, the next 12 months. How do you build credit? How do you improve credit? What things should you think about with your job, your career? What kind of things should you be thinking about with building your credit, with your debts? Those are the things you want to be educated about before you're ready to go buy a house. You're pregnant, you need a house, you got a family. It's not, oh my goodness, I'm under so much pressure. Figure that out a little bit ahead of time.
And I love it because it's less reactive, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times, unfortunately, we're just a reactive society, right?
Mhm.
We go to the realtor first, right? And the realtor, unfortunately, if and you can speak to some of your experience, Lindsay, with this. You know, they come to the realtor, and the realtor is like the point guard, right? But the realtor is not really the point guard. The realtor should be really working in concert with the team, starting first with personal preparedness, financial preparedness, and then moving them along the time. And I'm not saying get to the realtor last. I think as realtors and real estate professionals, we should be constantly referring people to get educated before they come back to us for the transaction. Talk about your experience on that level and what your thoughts are.
So yeah, basically when I have a client that comes in to talk to me, a lot of times they have not talked to a lender. They haven't talked to anyone that can help with down payment assistance or anything. So I'm a teacher and I'm a therapist and I'm all this. They come with a lot of fear. And that's really what it is.
Mhm.
When you're afraid of something of a process, it makes you a little bit apprehensive to pursue it. So when people come to me, I try to, let's talk about this. Let's lay out your goals, your timeline. But I do let them know it's very important. I know you're scared to see what your credit score looks like. I know you're scared of the rejection that you may get, but a no, just because it's a no right now doesn't mean that it's impossible.
That's right.
When I first started with Tallahassee Lenders, I think I called you first. And you were like, and I'm like, I need to rent somewhere. And you're like, you don't want to buy a house? And I'm like, well, I don't know if I can. And I didn't know if I could. And I could not at the time. But going to TLC, seeing what I needed to do made me so that, oh, okay, now I know. So I did move and I rented, and 2 years later, literally 2 years later, I was purchasing a home. And I think that's really all it's about is when you set goals, and like Brian said, in high school and stuff, they don't teach us. They probably started teaching me how to balance a checkbook in 12th grade. And I really learned how to do it, I'm embarrassed to say, but around 30. Around 30. But that was just something that wasn't, they had debit cards. They have a lot of things now, and so you don't realize how financially illiterate you really are. But it's all about educating yourself. So when people come to me, my main thing is, let me get you with somebody that's going to help. And I like having people that I do business with because it streamlines that process so much easier.
That's right.
And people are like, wow, it wasn't even that bad. They get the courage as we go along the process. Okay, boom, let's get you in touch with the lender. If you haven't talked to them, send them over to Ryan or whomever. They talk to them and like, okay, well, I did the application. Good, you are one step closer.
That's right.
Let's see about TLC. He may suggest that to them. It may be perfect. They go do it. They're closing on their house. It's the best thing ever.
Yep.
And it's just one of those processes. Life is a process.
Yep.
And that's what it's really about, being able to work through the process. So I try to streamline and give a timeline on this is how we can get to where you're trying to be at.
Yeah. Did you have any thoughts about the process? I know you've been on the board of TLC and y'all have worked to do a whole lot of things.
Yeah, I mean, the process is a process for
it's
sure.
A process.
And I think the issue is trying to demystify it for most people. Like you're saying, information is key. And when you don't have that information, you don't have the confidence because you don't have the information of what you need to do next from step one, step two. So you see processes, you see people getting in houses, you see people doing all these various moves, but you don't know how they got there.
Mhm.
So I think with the processes that TLC has in place, and like you were just mentioning about the realtor being able to kind of help navigate the person through the process is key.
I think what we're talking about here, and I know if you're listening, you just tuned in, we're talking about home ownership 101. We're talking about the process. We're talking about the ecosystem of ownership, right?
Mhm.
How it happens, how agencies and lenders and real estate, how we all play together in order to get you at your expected end. I love what you said earlier, that you are in control. When you come to a place, now let me ask you, is TLC just for people who need down payment assistance, or can anybody come to TLC and get a roadmap for the purchase process?
Anybody can come. Some people feel like that if they're not coming for down payment assistance, don't worry about TLC. But it's educating you about this process, having knowledge of how to purchase, the decisions that you're going to have to make in the process. Those things are really important.
Yes.
So if you've gone through it, if you've practiced who you might see and what questions you might ask and who's next in the process, it makes the process a lot easier for you.
Yeah.
I like the word that Carlos used, demystify the process, because people are, just like Lene said, fearful. They're scared. They don't have that level of confidence. But when they come through, and the other part is when they see a friendly face, that customer service to me is the utmost. You know, we have a home ownership specialist that sits down and does counseling, and we call her Mama Donna, because when she goes over those credit reports, she'll say, well, what's this? Why are you wasting your money? And she does it in the kindest way, but she means what she says.
Right.
You know, but at the same time, when you leave out, there's so much hope. You know exactly, because you come into that session, you're leaving with an action plan. The 1, 2, 3, and you're leaving with a date that you need to come back and see us, because we want to make sure that you've done the things that are on that action plan. So it's all of that. It's getting the opportunity to share all of the housing opportunities, because just right here in Tallahassee, we have the city has infill homes for sale. We got developers like Carlos that's out there utilizing the county's HOD program where they're providing affordable housing. We got Habitat for Humanity, can't leave that out. You got USDA,
Yes.
you can't leave that out as well. Can't leave us out now, because we're doing the community land trucks, which is another affordable housing tool. All of these are not the answers to affordable housing, but they sure help.
That's right. They sure help. They help to create accessibility based on capability. And let's talk about that, right? Let's have a real conversation about capability. Are we doing enough as a community to make available financial coaching, financial assistance? Because I like what Lene said earlier. Sometimes you like a hairstylist around here. You a therapist. You're holding hands, and really, it's really emotional. And people are very fearful of their finances because they haven't been taught how to manage finances. Like nothing. And so, are we doing enough as a community to do that? Because by the time they come to you, and by the time they come to a real estate professional, you need to have this stuff together. Are we doing enough as a community to make available opportunities for people to learn how to be better stewards, be more in control of their personal finances?
We could do better.
Yes.
We could always do better, because I think that's the bulk of everything. People, I don't have enough money to buy a house. You know, they really don't have anything saved up. They don't know how to save. They don't know, how to allocate funds where they should go. For instance, if you're paying $1,200 for rent, and then the mortgage, if you go and get a mortgage, is $1,400, would you rather be owning or paying someone else's mortgage? That's the question I kind of have to ask. I'm like, well, how much do you pay for rent right now? Well, I pay $1,200. Okay, I know you're a little bit fearful, the extra $200 every month, But let's sit down and think about it. If you take your finances, I'm pretty sure you spend $200 on something every month that you can do without. You know?
Right.
At least for a little while. You know what
Mhm.
I'm saying? Because like I tell people, you're paying a mortgage, just not your own.
Your own
You're
mortgage.
paying
Yep.
someone else's mortgage.
Mhm.
And it's just really about that, creating generational wealth. Everything. I feel like it could be better conversation around it, better tools and resources to help teach people financial literacy, not just in terms of, oh, so you can buy a house, but so that you can be financially stable, so that you can create that wealth, and so that you're not struggling paycheck to paycheck, living paycheck to paycheck, you know? I think
Mhm.
that's very important.
At
We can
the-
do that.
At the mercy of a landlord adjustment of rent every year. Are we doing enough, Ron?
Well, I mean, in our community, we have a great resource, and we've been talking to it, that is our community resource. I think what's tough is you can have the most delicious, refreshing water, but you still got to lead the horse to that water. And it's a way of getting people to come and engage. We are in a world where people live on social media. They see the exciting, oh, I bought a house, and people are made to feel like, well, what's wrong with me? I don't feel like I can do that. You know, it's hard to get those people encouraged and get over some of those humps and those feelings that they're made to feel. So I don't know, maybe doing something to combine some of the programs we already have to reach people earlier, maybe through our schools or something like that. I don't know. And I know that my profession is often guilty. Like, I talk to a lot of other people in my profession in lending that are like, why do you do some of those loans you do? They're so hard. And
Right.
it's the truth. Like, oh, I wouldn't want to do that. That loan is 3 times as hard, and it's, you know, half the size of a lot of the loans, you know. But I mean, we're here on, what was it, Hallelujah Radio today?
Mhm.
I started out in ministry at a small Christian school, and you can do ministry with whatever you do.
That's right.
And-
That's right.
And I feel like you treat every client the same, you invest in them, and somebody has to do it.
Yes.
Somebody has to be there. And also, a lot of people in my profession are order takers. Somebody calls up the phone and says, hey, I want to buy a house. Okay, well, what price? What do you want to do? They don't sit there and ask the right questions and dig and then educate the people on walking them through the roadmap. You got to be more than just an order taker to be a great loan officer. And the answer from a loan officer should never be no.
Mhm.
The answer should always be not right now. And you know, it's just, I think it's a mindset within my profession of a lot of people, and also, like I said, I think we have great resources in our community. It's leading more people to get to the resource.
Mhm. Karen, are we doing enough?
No. I laugh
I
because
like
I
it.
love TLC.
Uh,
And it's so hard to get all of the information out.
yes.
It is. It's something we're working on and working on and working on. But I laugh. I love Lene in her age that she started things and what she said about learning to do it at 30. I used to sit and watch my parents write bills. I could see they had really good skills. But do you think their daughter could follow those great skills?
Mm.
No. I remember graduating from college and getting the first paycheck. And I go, this is for rent and this is for shopping. I mean, I had a whole different mindset.
Right.
And it wasn't until I almost got ready to get married, my husband said, Karen, my goodness, what are you doing? But in my first career, I ran a children's home, and kids started at age 14 learning financial literacy.
Oh, wow.
Those independent living skills. And most of them were foster care kids, so I knew that they were going to be out on their own eventually.
Yes.
But we started at 14. We didn't wait till 16. And so as I hear this idea, and I know that some of the schools are doing it, but I'm almost one that says it needs to be mandatory in school. And there are things that you can teach even young children. I play a game with little kids, and I use M&Ms, and I teach them how to save using the M&Ms and how to spend their money. And then their reward is a pack of M&Ms at the end of the game. So we have to do more and get more information out. But I think we're trying, but
Yes.
we just got to do better.
We do. I mean, we're not doing it. We're really. So I want to go out there a lightning round, right? Because we got people listening and they're thinking to themselves, okay, I want to buy a house. I guess I got to go to TLC and start there. Then I gotta, once I'm good here, I can go over to my lender. and then or go to my realtor and then get referred to a lender, or hopefully whatever order that comes in. Let's talk about some things that are definite barriers to ownership. All right, repossessions. Talk to me about repossessions, y'all, because that's a huge deal. Somebody had bought a car and it was taken away 10 years ago, or they co-signed for somebody else's car that was taken away 10 years ago. Talk a little bit about issues of access to homeownership.
I guess that falls to me.
Come on, Ron.
Well, I mean, it's more than just like repossessions. It's all kinds of credit situations. I think people dive into credit, and I mean, you look on our college campuses, they're out there giving away T-shirts to get people to sign up for credit cards. They have no clue how to use them. They're just like, oh, wow, I can go buy stuff. And all of a sudden that thing is maxed out. They have
I am
no,
people.
yeah, they have no idea how, you know, revolving credit and the balances you keep impacts your credit. There's all kinds of stuff. I mean, it's just understanding that you need to have credit. You need to use credit wisely. I tell people credit's like a seesaw. You put negative stuff at one end, you put positive stuff here. If all you got is negative stuff, you got a problem, because you got to start getting some of that off of there.
Yeah.
And you got to start putting some positive things. You got to swing it back. So it's like a two-edged sword. You build positive credit. You have to understand what positive credit looks like, how to build it, and then how to deal with the negative things. And preferably we get to people before they ever create those negative things.
Right. So if they do create those negative things, like a repossession, I say repossession because I get that so much. What if you got a repossession on your credit? Tell me, what if you got a repossession on your credit? What talk to me about what that, tell me some, how they overcome that.
Well, essentially that lender that does the repossession, they're going to probably resell that, and they're going to have a deficiency balance.
Okay.
If it goes into collection, that means they're still trying to get that money from the consumer. Then it depends on what kind of loan you're doing, how that's treated. There's different rules that apply, but it is more challenging when it's a collection. A lot of times they'll get tired of collecting it, or they won't even try to collect it, and they do what's called a charge-off. They kind of write it off their books. The rules for that are totally different. So it's a little easier to handle a charge-off.
Okay.
Sometimes it's just a matter of running them through an automated underwriting engine, which is like a little computer game. It tells us bing, bing, it likes them or it doesn't. Sometimes we can work around it. Sometimes the rules for the different type of loan, VA, FHA, conventional, treat that differently. But and sometimes you can get on a payment plan if you need to.
Okay.
And have that payment count. There's a lot of different strategies, but we have to see, are they still in collection for the item? Has it been charged off? Are they in a payment plan? Can they get in a payment plan? There's various ways to handle that.
Okay, so if you're listening and you have a repossession on your credit, basically you have to figure out what it is what state it's in, that collection is in, whether it's still, full amount, whether it's a deficiency balance that's got to be paid back. Because I'm assuming that if it's a deficiency balance, it's got to be on a payment plan to be paid back.
If it's in collection, the bank's still trying to get it. Honestly, if you're in that position, the best thing you can do is get with your lender or get with TLC, let your credit be pulled. Let somebody look at it, because there's more to it than just, oh, my car went back. You need to see how it's reporting, what type of loan you might be doing, and then what rules apply to that, whether it's a collection, whether it's a charge off. There's a variety of rules, and it's too much to try to dissect here, but there's a variety of rules, and you really need a professional to look at it with you and walk you through it.
Okay, and so the second thing I'll ask is, okay, somebody they've been renting. Do we still look at rentals and look at whether or not what they rent and what they're trying to buy, if that payment is on par for them to be able to qualify for a loan?
Sure. Sometimes we can look at their payment history, especially if they have what's called thin credit, like they don't really have much credit to look at. We can go back and capture proof of their history with their landlord and prove good payment history. That helps. And also it's called payment shock. If you've been paying $1,000 a month in rent and all of a sudden your mortgage payment is going to be $1,500, it's like, that's payment shock. Your payment's going way up. How is that going to impact them? That's something that can be looked at. Sometimes though, you have negative payment shock. Maybe your payment actually goes down when you buy the house. So that does play into things, especially for people with thin credit, where we're trying to find out as much as we can because they don't have a lot of history to look at on their credit report.
I know at TLC, one of the ways that we utilize the rental history, it has to do with when the ratios may be a little high,
Mhm.
and we look for compensating factors.
Mhm.
And so when they have had a great rental history, that's one of the compensating factors that can be utilized in their behalf. So yeah, I agree with Ron on that. That's a great opportunity to look at their rental. And especially when the landlords say they paid on time.
Yes,
That's huge.
yes, yes.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think when you look at the basics of this, you're trying to find out somebody's character.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of times we move away from credit and character. As the scripture says, a person's name is worth more than rubies. And what is credit? Your name.
Yeah.
And so when you're trying to establish relationships with people, people do business with people they know, like, and what? Trust. So you have to build trust in these people that are totally strangers. They're looking at your track record to see, can I trust you with the bag, if you will? Can I trust you with the bag?
Yeah.
If I can't trust you with the bag, looking at your credit, right? I'm not going to give you the bag so you can go buy the house. So I think that that's the basics of what we're talking about now, just going back to the fundamentals, just saying, hey, we need to be trustworthy and we have to prove ourselves with a track record that people can trust us with the bag.
And so in light of this economy, and I know, Linda, you probably get a lot of this with friends that are renting, with people who are trying to find a solution to maybe, inconsistent rents or just really high rents. Talk about how we message to young people that the process, you got to go through the process, and the process is now. And quit looking at the cost of houses. Stop looking at house prices.
Right.
Right.
Well, we know a few years ago, house prices were lower.
A few
And
years
so
ago.
a lot of times people come to me and they're like, well, my cousin bought a house for X amount. They got a big house out of it. And I'm like, that's just not that. And I try to explain to them, the real estate market and the way that things work, inflation, for example, things cost more. So when I see people who are a little bit more opposed to buying, and sometimes it's the right time to, I feel like now it's always the right time to buy. Now is always the right time. Different people have different factors. Like we were talking about with the credit issues, things of that nature. But I feel like knowing where you are so you can get to where you're going is important. Stop thinking about the past and think more about the present and the future. Okay, housing prices aren't like they were back in 2017.
That's right.
They're just not. And
That's right.
they probably won't be.
Mhm.
They probably won't be. Now, the biggest issue I see with clients that come in, they've been renting. Imagine people who've been renting at a place for a long time and say the landlord didn't increase the rent. So now let's say they're $900, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, mother of 3.
Mhm.
It works for them. They want to buy a house, but a 3-2 right now is crazy.
Mhm.
And a lot of times with those, with what we were talking about, professionals that are just getting started, they're qualifying for somewhere around the 180, 200. And honestly, what's on the market right now just is not accommodating enough for what they need.
So this was a beautiful rainbow of a segue to conversations about the HOD and about the community land trust and ways that people can get access to affordability housing that is affordable. So go ahead, take it away, Ms. Karen.
Let
And
me tell
listen,
you, I get so excited, I'm ready to cheer. And you know what? You're absolutely right. And even we can't leave out the renovation loan either.
we're going to get back there.
But, again, I talked about the community land trust,
Yes.
one of the tools. I'm like you, Lynette. I tell people, stop listening to the national news. Learn your local market, but then learn what opportunities are here.
Yes.
And so with the land trust, it's where an individual can purchase the home, the actual structure, but they rent the land. And just to give you a quick example, our very first land trust home was a 3-2. It appraised at $264,000. The land appraised at $30,000. So to make the price of the house go down, we took the land out. So it brought the price to $234,000. Well, then we had been given some money for construction subsidy because construction prices went up. So we put 50,000 toward that. Brought the price of the house down to $184,000. Well, guess what? That person could still get the city's down payment assistance program, which was up to 20% of the purchase price of the house. That person got $36,800 in down payment assistance.
Wow.
Okay? And then on top of that, the lender gave them a $5,000 grant. So all of that helped this person. Now, the land trust is a little different.
Mhm.
You know, you own the structure, but you don't own the land. Well, we own the land at TLC, and that person pays $25 a month in rent for the land. We're a nonprofit. We're trying to help with affordable housing. We're not charging $200 and $300 for the land,
Right.
because the goal is it's a program, and we want to work with them on affordability, on careers,
Yes.
on working with maybe going back to school, getting your legal affairs in order.
Yes.
And once we do all of that, and the wealth building, we want you to purchase a home, be simple, with the land. But we want you to sell that land trust home to someone that's just starting out.
That's right.
So, you know, and you heard me say a 3-2. We're working with the city and the county right now on a small community. We're doing 1 bedroom, 1 bath.
Oh, good.
You know why? Because there's some seniors and some young people,
Right.
you know,
That's
that could, and it's starter.
Mhm.
It's starter.
Yeah.
And that's what everybody has to understand. We're doing some 2-2s.
Mhm.
We're doing some 3-2s that are paired homes, but we're still doing the single family 3. And people are coming and saying, well, when you gonna start the 4-bedroom?
right. Because they need 4 bedrooms.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
I'll let Carlos talk about the HOD program, because it works hand in hand
Mhm.
with the down payment assistance program that we have too.
Yes.
So, you know, again, another opportunity.
Yeah. And the HOD program is the county's program where they are giving subsidy to the builder as well as subsidy to the buyer to make housing affordable.
Yeah. I mean, that's a game changer when you think about the program with the county. And I'll just plug this in one sense. We're a resource-rich community.
We are.
And I think when you think about it from that angle, just the problem is that there is a lot of disconnected information. Most people don't know about the resources that are available. So this county program is one in particular where the county has up to $100,000 to the developer contractor to subsidize, if you will, the construction of the project. So when they put in, if it's $100,000, it's 0 interest. I'll say that one more time for Ron to get it. 0 interest and 0 payments, right? And that same benefit goes to the buyer that buys the house. So if you get $100,000 at 0 interest, 0 payments, if the house is selling for $265,000, that means that they have $100,000 of that $265,000 at 0 interest and 0 payments. So that makes that house very affordable with a mortgage at $165,000, or pair that with down payment assistance,
Which is a 0
That's right.
interest loan.
which
right.
brings that $165,000 even lower.
Mhm.
And that's a fee simple house that they're buying. So it makes it very affordable. So that's something that the county has here, right here in Leon County.
And if the homeowner stays in the home for 15 years, 100,000 is forgiven.
Say that again. Say that again.
The
So the
100,000 is
It's forgiven.
forgiven.
Wow.
The down payment assistance is also forgiven.
So I want to make sure that we restate these things. Look, I've been in real estate long enough to know that we got all of these awesome things, and we haven't even talked about Live Local and the Hometown Heroes Fund, right? We haven't even talked about the renovation loans that you do, where basically you could buy a jacked up house for $100,000, get money based on appraisal to fix that house up, and then create affordability that way. And you can still,
Get a 0 interest loan and down payment assistance.
So I think what needs to happen, and I get excited because I just like this. I think what needs to happen is that we probably need to put something out that just talks about the ecosystem of housing opportunity within our community and really focus on ownership, right? Not to the detriment of rentals or anything like that, but the rental market is got its own kind of place and identity, and I think people are getting lost in the fray of that and thinking that they have to. It's almost like a hazing process where I got to just pay this rent, that changes. And being in property management, we had to go up on one person's rent $400 in one renewal because it was under rented for so long and the owner wanted to catch up.
I was just going to throw in, and I'm always throwing in a curveball here,
Curveball.
but I think the other caveat that we have to do is that we have to be careful not to short circuit the process of
Right.
That's
character building.
Exactly.
And what I mean by that is if you're basically giving someone something without them having to work for it, to get their credit together, to build a track record and all these other types of character building processes, you will have someone in a home that is not ready for that home. And then that home goes into foreclosure. Now it's a detriment to the community. And I think that's what happened in our boom and our Great Recession. Some of these things were short circuited, and we're bringing people into a property that hadn't had the process of character development. A name on a deed doesn't change the community. And I think that's some people misunderstand that just because you're in a home, we're gonna push home ownership regardless, and we're gonna get everybody on a deed, and we don't understand that there is a process of character development. An inheritance gained at the beginning leads to destruction. That's a proverb, whatnot. So I think that's the issue. We don't want to short circuit the process of character development, so that when we get the people in the home, they've built that track record, and now they're great community homeowners for that neighborhood.
Right. And when you talk about great community homeowners, they're people that actually contribute to the value of the neighborhood. They get involved in HOAs, they do community things to bring value and attention. And so I go back to my original question. Are we doing enough? Are we doing enough to make sure, Lynye, that the housing opportunity question is being answered, particularly for young professionals, right?
I still go back to no, we're not. And that just comes into play with what he was talking about, the character development about things. Because, of course, when you're paying somebody else's rent, when you're paying somebody rent, you go, I'll pay that thing when I get ready to pay it.
Right.
And people do the same with their mortgages. But I think it still goes back down to financial literacy, such as let's take low income housing complexes. Let's Mission Hills, places like that. You have a lot of young professionals that live there.
Yeah.
I was a young professional living there, and a lot of times people, they get places and they get stuck. And it's just because of the fact, what do I do next? Oh, I want to buy a house. I have dreams of buying a house. But a lot of times, if they don't see their parents owning homes or no one in their family does it, they literally think it's something that can't happen. I had a friend, I helped her buy a house, and later on we had a large discussion about this, and she was like, I didn't even think this was possible at first.
Wow.
Like, she had no idea that a lot of people just really do not know. And I think getting inside of those type of communities and talking to those people like, hey, I know you renting, I know, use this as a stepping stone to get to where you want to be. Those are the best places to start teaching people financial stability.
That's right.
When you have lower rent, because they go by your income, that helps, because it's like, okay, what are you doing with the other money where you can put that aside so that you can afford to pay for your home inspection? That's another thing that I see buyers coming in. When you start talking to them about the things you have to pay for that you don't get your money back for, they get scared. And when you like, okay, so there are a couple of things that you do have to pay for that I can't guarantee you're going to see your money back. And then they're like, so I have to get a home inspection? What if I don't want the house no more? Well, now you're now you got to go get another home inspection on the other house. But that just goes into being comfortable. Because a lot of times when you start a process with something and you're not comfortable, you don't have the funds to do that, you're going to get cold feet. You're going to back out. You're like, you know what, this isn't for me. When you're more than capable of doing it, you just really have to sit down and allocate those funds and budget. And a lot of times, like talking about the cars getting repossessed, that's a thing. I'm 33 years old. I know a lot of people who have gotten their cars repossessed. I have a niece right now. She wants to go buy her car. She's 20. Okay, I hope she ain't watching this because she's gonna be mad at me for talking. But she's 20 and she keeps on, I want to go get this car. Go buy a house. Okay, if you got money to go buy that fancy nice car, get the house first. Drive your little rinky-dink car, and then go get you a car.
Yes.
And I think that's just really what it's about. People go buy a designer, they go do this, do that. A lot of material things that don't create wealth. Like when I tell people I brought my house back 2017, I know people be like, see, that's what I'm talking about. You bought the house for 89.
That was 2017.
That was 2017.
That's right.
But my same townhouse, they're selling for $200K over there now.
That's
and
right.
when I got into financial buying, I was able to pull money.
Come on now.
I was able to pull money, equity, and have that money, and it doesn't break my pockets too. You know, even when I'm repaying my HELOC or whatever the case may
That's
be.
right.
But it goes into that generational wealth. It goes into creating those possibilities for yourself. You cannot do that when you're renting a house.
Come on now.
You cannot do that when you're renting something. You can't pull that equity.
That's
They're gonna pull that equity because you're paying their mortgage.
That's right.
And they're gonna pull the equity out and go and buy another house.
Yep.
And you still gonna be paying their rent.
Yes.
And even when you're living in an apartment complex, you are still paying.
Yes.
Somebody got a mortgage somewhere.
Mhm.
And if they don't,
That's
it's
right.
going straight in their pocket. You know?
And it's just that simple. And so when we talk about, and Ron, you have a class coming up on renovation mortgages. Can you talk a little bit about that and let people know where they can tune in and attend that forum?
Well, no, that class is for realtors. I'm teaching it.
Oh, it's only for realtors.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So if you're a realtor, listen, you need to go to this class.
We'll have one.
Yeah, we need to have one for the public.
That's it.
Yeah,
The board of
we do.
builders. Listen, I'm all on board with going out and doing stuff for the public
Yes.
and all as well. But I love what you had to say. And we live in a world where people want to take selfies and pictures and post them online and get likes. People that are liking the car you have and the clothes you're wearing, they're not going to be paying your bills and they're not helping you retire 20, 30 years from now.
Say that.
And it's get in the game is the biggest thing I say to people. They go out and look at houses. Oh, I love this $300,000 house. Well, you can qualify for a 175 house. Oh, I don't like that. That's not going to impress anybody. Get in the game. Get in the game, because eventually, as that wheel goes around, you're the one getting the equity built up. You move that to the next house and the next house, and stop worrying about impressing everybody and worry about building your future. It's changing that mentality. And the renovation lending allows you to go buy that $150,000, $175,000 house, make it more what you would like. We can fix needs, we can address wants, you roll it right into the loan. And it's a game changer for helping affordability, for opening up options for people, for fixing blight in the community. And we have multiple types of loans, FHA, VA, conventional. All of them allow you to roll money in so that you can repair or renovate a house when you're purchasing it. And it is a game changer. And we do pair it for the past 10 years now with the 0% silent second with the city of Tallahassee through TLC.
Listen. Okay, so it's 3:00, and y'all, I knew this show was gonna go over. I'm so sorry, Dr. D. It's so much, and we haven't even scratched the surface, which is great. What I want to do is I want to close and give Karen an opportunity to tell people, how can people get in contact with TLC?
I want them to know that they can easily call 850-222-6609. And if they want to talk to me directly, I got a new phone number in my office. It's 850-756-7726. Just call us and we'll get you to the right person for your needs.
I promise you, this is not the end of this conversation. We're going to work with all the people in this room to do a community forum on home ownership 101. We're going to make sure that you get the information you need to understand the access ecosystem of ownership. And those who are ready, they will access and they will do well. Those who are not, you will continue to be in the process, hopefully getting to the point of becoming a homeowner. Thank you all so much for listening out there in our listening audience. I promise you, we are here to make sure that you get the information that you need in order to make your life better. Thank you to my special co-host today, Pastor Carlos Henry, who was actually serving as a co-host and a technical assistant today on cameras. And we hope that this was a very useful conversation to you today. Thank you so much. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. This is the Conscious Check at the Greg James Community Show. Pastor James will be back next week, and we look forward to you all having a productive week and weekend. Y'all take care.
Okay, the first week in June, NeighborWorks Week, June 1st through the 8th.
That would be amazing. That would be amazing. A big old, and we can do breakfast.
We can
It can be a
we can
huge.
be doing the day. We could probably get Red Cross
Yep.
because they had a huge.
Yes, absolutely. My Android phone. Absolutely. Okay, here we go. Man, that was so much information. It was so much
It is
information.
so much more to give.
Oh man.
It's
Yeah,
so much.
yeah, we gonna make this happen. The week of when?
June 1st through 8th. That's NeighborWorks Week. We'll get with all of you all and see what your schedules are like and see, like I
I was
said,
gonna say, I know I got a lot going on starting into the summer there, but
yeah,
yeah, the earlier you get those dates, better.
yeah, and we can do a session.
Oh, okay. If you're listening live, we're talking about plans to do a follow-up workshop on this conversation today. We're going to be looking at all your questions on the yard. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Oh, yeah, y'all got to look at Kendra. Hey, Kendra. All right, that's going to be our next. Hello. Somebody say hello, Miss Boyd. So listen, we're going to be getting back with y'all on when we're going to be doing this forum, this community forum, and we're going to call it Home Ownership 101, and we're going to make sure that when you leave, you have the tools and process you need to go through it and become a homeowner if that's what you desire to do. Thank y'all so much for tuning in, and we look forward to having you join us on the next week. Take care.